Welcome into the Four Protocols Podcast, episode 118, or 118 was Tuesday. 118 was Tuesday. Today's 119 for August 14th, 2025. Here at High Top, yet again a warm and somewhat continuous or a contentious Jacksonville, Florida. A lot of things to get into today's show. Jam-packed show today. A lot of things happening. Camp intel, as usual. We got some Michigan NCAA stuff to talk about at the beginning here, because there might be something going on tomorrow, looks like. Got some team record projection for Arkansas, Sam Pittman and company, to discuss a little bit. And got some Marvel news as well, some stuff that broke in the last 12 hours or so. A lot of things happening there. So if you're new here, welcome to the show. This is independent media. Never talked to advertiser before. We do this show on Spotify and YouTube Live, Spotify with the podcast only version. The show is independent media. Never talked to advertiser before. We do the show on Tuesdays and of course on Thursdays. We got a lot of stuff happening. Of course, the season's starting. Games happening next week. This time next week we'll be doing, well, not this time, but on Tuesday of next week we'll be doing a game prep for Iowa State and Kansas State, Farmageddon over there in Ireland. So a lot of things to take in here. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, podcast feed, follow me on Twitter, X, and all this stuff's for free. Nothing behind the paywall. Like I don't have anything from you guys, any information you may have or thoughts on certain stuff. So as a sort of a note here, as I mentioned, the Michigan NCAA stuff will be revealed tomorrow, apparently. That's coming from a lot of reliable sources. We will do a video reaction to that tomorrow. So whenever that happens, we'll do a video on that. Post it on the channel. It'll be one of those. Of course, it'll be pre-recorded, not live, but we'll talk about it, do a little video, give my thoughts on it. So what we're going to hear tomorrow, because that is happening. And I think a lot of folks do care about it, especially if you live in, Columbus, Ohio, East Lansing, Michigan, places like that. State College, PA also. A lot of folks probably who live there have interest in this for various reasons. So, and of course, you'll keep it on as well because we're college football fans. We follow the sport and we'll touch on it. So, again, welcome to the show. Again, make sure to subscribe. That's all I'm asking. Doesn't sign you up for anything. I don't go to your house and force you to do anything. I don't send you stuff in the mail. I don't call you or anything like that. I mean, it keeps the show free if you guys do subscribe and follow us on all of our social platforms as well. So make sure you do that. Okay. So the NCAA and Michigan's been a battle for about a couple of years now with the whole Connor Stallions thing and Jim Harbaugh. There's some other stuff too that's thrown in with the hacking of computers or whatever. I don't know if that's part of this officially, but that was something a couple of years ago. But anyway, I'm sure most of you know about that by now, right? The whole sign stealing thing. And whether you agree with that or disagree with it, it's kind of beyond the point where it happened. It is what it is. And for the last couple of years, I think a lot of folks have been wondering, what will the NCAA do with Michigan? What's the punishment going to be? And we sort of touched on this a little bit. I've had thoughts on this over the year, I guess. Well, you've been doing the show for only a year, but I've had thoughts on this privately for a couple of years. And then recently got that, was said, but Tony Petitti, Big Ten commissioner, said, and just had a lot of things happening. So apparently, according to a lot of folks, there will be information come out tomorrow. We'll have a video on that, like a breaking news video on that tomorrow to give you guys my thoughts on that. And, Josh Pate on his X account, he put this out, and I think it was interesting. And of course, he'll do a show in a little bit. I think he's doing it a little earlier today, but he'll have a show out soon. And he put on his Twitter earlier today, and I responded to it a little while ago, and his tweet was, Michigan's NCAA sanctions will be blank. And I put now on my tweet that, quote, nothing major. Why would the Big Ten and their media partners agree to have one of their major brands be punished, to be harshly punished? And a lot of you guys had some interesting comments on there. Some of them are very generic. I think some of them kind of more of the conspiracy theory route. Some of you more are saying that Michigan cheated because you're Ohio State fans, or you're Michigan State fans, or you're Penn State fans, or maybe you're Oregon fans too. I will sort of reiterate what I've been saying, what I said on Twitter. why would Michigan or Michigan, why would the Big Ten and its media partners like CBS, Fox, NBC, why would they allow one of their major brands to be punished with TV and bowl bans? Why? Like, why would they do that? They would just be flushing away money. I know a lot of you on Twitter, the pushback I'm getting from that response to Josh's post is, well, Michigan cheated, or, oh, they did this with Ohio State, they did the Penn State too. Well, a couple of reasons why this is so different in those situations. The Ohio State thing is any incident that happened back in like last couple of years. The era of college football is a lot different now. Like media rights deals a little bit different, right? You have in the Big Ten now, it's more players instead of just ESPN and Fox. Now it's ESPN, CBS, and NBC. Three major networks, and you're getting a lot more money now. Now you have other stuff of, avenues of getting money into the Big Ten and then making a lot of profit. You just can't do that now. You can't do TV bans anymore. That's not a thing anymore. That's something you may see back in like 2011, 1999, or in the 80s. Like that's not a thing anymore. Like I don't think TV networks would be over the moon about having one of their biggest brands that they're, it's one of the biggest brands in a conference they're partners with, not being on TV. That would just be suicide. You wouldn't do that. I think it's pretty clear that if there's any punishment, that's not on the table, nor is a bowl ban. Same thing. It's like that's not relevant anymore. That's not something that's not the way the game's played anymore. That's not the way this thing goes in college football. If you don't believe me, go watch guys like Josh Pater cover 3. It's pretty clear. It's not the way the world works anymore in college football. And the other example is Penn State back in 2011. That's a scandal that is even more of an issue than football, right? That was a whole, I don't need to tell you guys details. I'm sure most of you, if you're old enough, remember that sort of transcended football. That was a major national and world news situation. That wasn't anything football related. This is strictly football related. Like this, like the SMU thing back in the 80s of the death penalty, obviously that was very hawkish, by the way, of the NCAA back then, obviously NCAA now, and based on several court rulings, they don't have power anymore. They're not as hawkish as they really used to be. And it's clear, I just don't expect TV or bowl bans to be a part of this. Now, another aspect of this, I think a lot of folks are hoping is, they'll just vacate the wins. Well, like I said before, and I'll echo what Josh Payton has said before, and others, so you're going to vacate wins. Cool, your Wikipedia page looks different. Like you're going to forget that Jim Harbaugh and J.J. McCarthy and all those players are hosting the playoff trophy 2 years ago over Washington. Like you're just going to forget that. Like they're just going to, we're going to reboot the timeline and we're going to erase everything and whatnot. No, you're not going to forget that. You're still going to have the memories of the national championship trophy and all that stuff. So no, that's not happening. Or well, I shouldn't say that won't happen. It might happen, but it's not going to impact you anyway. It's like I just said, it's like you're gonna go to Michigan's Wikipedia page for 2023 and be like, oh, okay, there's vacated wins here, whatever. I saw it happen. I still acknowledge them as national champs. So if they do that, whatever. What I think they'll do is that's one of them. I guess even though I think having bowl wins and like wins vacated is stupid again because it's like you saw it happen again. It's not like you're erasing history, or at least you're not erasing our minds, our memories. You still have those. But what I think will happen is, you may get some wins vacated. I guess worst case scenario, you get your title vacated. I don't know. Again, I totally doubt that will ever happen, but that would be like the worst case scenario. The most reasonable scenario, I guess, or the one I'm expecting, and this is going to sound like I'm doing record projections, but the more route that I could see them doing, which would be maybe a fine, scholarship reduction. That's probably, I'm not expecting anything major to come out of this. Sure, you may get some like lifetime, bans from like Jim Harbaugh and Connor Stallions. Like, okay, cool. Jim Harbaugh's not come back to college football. In fact, I'm not a Chargers fan, but apparently from what Chargers fans have said, and there's very little of them that I know in the world that apparently like Michigan is not in his like vocabulary anymore. He doesn't like them anymore. It's like whatever. He's basically given Michigan the middle finger and said, well, fuck you. And he has no intentions of ever going back there. So it's like, cool, ban him for the rest of his life. Okay, whatever. Same with Connor Stallions, even though he wrote a whole manifesto on Michigan football, but sure, all right, fine, do that. Like they don't have any intentions of coming back anyway. Like I said, Jim Harbaugh's NFL now, so that won't do anything. And plus he hates Michigan anyway now, apparently, so whatever. It's like you're making his decision to hate Michigan more even easier now. But Sure, scholarship reductions, fines, maybe suspension for Jerome Moore, which he's already going to do anyway. So what? He's going to be suspended for an entire year? Doubt that. So, like I said, I don't think anything major of it. No, it won't be any TV or bowl bans. Again, like I said, the Big Ten and their media partners never let that happen. That would be, from a business standpoint, that would be suicide. That'll be business and economic suicide for them. It's like, well, like, why would you do it? You'd be losing so many money and so much value for punishing one of your brands, one of your big brands. Why would you do that? Like, there's no way in my mind they'll do that. And if they did do that, that would be a horrible decision, in my opinion. If you're putting on your thinking cap in the terms of like economics and business, that would be incredibly stupid. And I think everyone there should be ashamed they did that, because that's not a thing anymore. So this whole Michigan thing, and look, in general, I'm kind of tired of it. Let's just get to the season. I'm glad they're doing this now instead of doing it like in a random day in like October, November. So yeah, like I said, maybe you get some wins vacated, whatever. You still have those memories. Maybe like Jim Harbaugh and Connor Stallions get lifetime bans, whatever. They don't have any intentions of coming back to Ann Arbor anyway, or college football in general. Will you get some scholarship reductions, a fine, suspension for the coaches who are still there? Yeah, it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't change anything, in my opinion. It doesn't change the way I view Michigan in 2024 or 2023 or 2021 or 2020 or 2019 or 2014 or 2015, actually. Like, it's not going to change my opinion of them. Still those memories of the national title team. It's coming from me and a Michigan fan, too. If I was a Michigan fan, I'll be like, vacating one, whatever. Like I said, like, cool. The Wikipedia page will look different on Saturday after tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon. Cool. Great. I got water from my fridge today. Congrats. So, Michigan NCAA thing, we'll have something, we'll have details revealed tomorrow. I'm assuming we'll get the final verdict on it, I guess. Who knows? But like I said, I'll do a whole video on this tomorrow. I'm sure I'll just repeat what I just said on the show. But it's happening tomorrow. Will be interesting to hear what Josh Pate will have to say about it, because, again, he's obviously hinting at he'll talk about on this show here in a little bit. So I'll be much like you. The rest of you, I'll be watching his show, and we'll kind of see what he says about it. I'm sure it'll be similar to me, because I think me and him kind of think similar to this. Just like, cool, sure, vacating some wins, even though, again, that's stupid in its own right. Scholarship reductions, suspensions, and bans for coaches, whatever. But yeah, TV bowl bans. That's, again, like I said, guys, that's not the way the sport operates now. It's not what it is. And again, if you're in the Big Ten or you're in media partners, why would you allow that? And there's no way you would be allowing this. Like, if you're Tony BTD, again, who's someone who has ties to you being in, legacy media, like, still, it's like that'll be incredibly stupid and incredibly dumb decision. Like, that would not be something any party involved here, and talking about the Big Ten and their media folks. Like, there's no way you would agree with that. There's just absolutely no way they would ever fathom having one of their biggest brands getting a bowl ban and TV ban. Like, I know a lot of folks in, in Columbus, Ohio, and in East Lansing, Michigan, and and State College, Pennsylvania. I'm sure a lot of you guys are rooting for this. And look, that's fine. I don't really care, because that's college football and it's just fan stuff. But you guys know truly in your hearts of hearts, a TV ban or a bowl ban or even a vacating of their title, that's probably not going to happen. Even though the vacating of wins and stuff, it's probably more likely. Even though, like I've been saying, that's still stupid, and that's like you're not gonna erase the memories that we have watching that team win. It's not like what the NCAA is gonna go to YouTube and delete all the videos and whatnot of Michigan winning national championship and whatnot. So hopefully this is put to rest. This is over with. Never gets talked about again. Maybe in 4 years or so it becomes a meme. So who knows? But like I said, we'll do a video on this tomorrow, breaking it down, doing the breaking reaction. And look, man, I'll just say this: if it's the other direction and it goes in the direction of like a bowl ban and a TV ban, that reaction video tomorrow will be something else, because I do not believe that'll be a good decision, and I really hope those folks here in Chicago don't seriously believe they would ever approve that, and I don't think they're going to, contrary to popular belief of people living in East Lansing and Columbus, Ohio, and State College or Eugene, Oregon, or whatever. Sorry, but that's not the way the sport works anymore. That will never happen. And if that did happen, some folks over there in Chicago and those TV partners need to be will be having egg on their face for a long time, because that would be incredibly stupid, and that would be financially stupid, and not to mention like tarnishing your legacy as Well, just for if you're Tony Petitti as a conference commissioner, because again, that's not the way the sport works anymore, and I don't think it frankly deserves that type of punishment. So finally, we're going to get to actual football, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about here. It's not necessarily sunshine and rainbows as it is right now outside my window, even though we have storms forming. So if you guys hear any thunder and stuff in the background, sorry, but it's Florida weather here in the summer, so just that's what it is. So I'm going to get some water real quick, and we'll move on to actual football. I did not intend to talk about Michigan and NCAA for 10 minutes here, but here we are. Camp Intel for college football. We've been, glad to have this back finally. Again, like I've been mentioning, games are starting next week, so we'll be going into game preview mode on Tuesday for Iowa State, Kansas State. But in between now and then, we still have one more show of only, just Camp Intel, no game previews. So enjoy while it lasts. It's going to get really fun here in the next several months. So let's start with Florida here. So this, oh boy, speaking of negativity, continuing on, I'm very worried about Florida. The injury situation has been really, really getting bad. It's been piling up. I mean, they have receivers out. Of course, they had DJ and a walking, in a medical boot or whatever a few weeks ago because of a non-football related injury. Apparently, he's healthy now, or at least it's not as bad as we thought it was. But still, there is that now a trend of him basically being made out of glass. It doesn't make zero sense, given he's a freak specimen of a football player. But whatever, things happen. But so yeah, injuries are really starting to pile up. You had the DJ stuff in the spring, and now early in fall camp. Caleb Banks, who was a defensive lineman, I believe, he's now on the injury list. He's apparently dealing with something. Receiver's been out. And I'll just be honest, I agree with Bud Elliott. This is really concerning me. The fact that they're having all this pile up. And LSU and Florida are really two teams that don't need injuries to happen. Now, of course, injuries don't need injuries for any team, but especially for LSU and Florida, where if you do have injuries at like the quarterback position, obviously, and maybe some key spots like receiver or maybe on defense, the talent behind them, the starters who are going to hopefully play, the talent behind them, at least from what I'm gathering, from a lot of folks who focus on recruiting, like Bud Elliott and all these people, it's not good. And I hate to say it's kind of crappy. And if you lose guys like Caleb Banks and a lot of these receivers aren't healthy and they're out for a while, and DJ Lagway's, it turns out he just is made out of glass and he gets hurt, this Florida team could very easily go to the worst case scenario. I think it was 5-7, I believe, for 4-8. That's on the table. That's not off the realm possibilities here. Now, the other side of things is that you get healthy, you get for the next couple of weeks for a game before you start doing game prep and you play the Long Island Sharks. No, that's not a team builder team from College Football 26. That's a real team. Before you get to that week, hopefully everyone's healthy and ready to go, and you get for the season and nothing bad happens, and you guys go 9-3 and get into the playoffs, I guess. So that's cool. But if that doesn't happen and the injuries become a trend here, and it turns out that's the case, and everyone's getting hurt, and you're having to start, was it Harrison Bailey? And look, I know a lot of folks deny this, but Florida did have, and really, well, they not just they wanted, but they did have the Purdy kid from Charlotte, who was essentially like a poor man's Anthony Richardson, comes in. Apparently, there's an issue with the grades and stuff, and he's not there. So he's at Wake Forest, I believe. He's not even the starter too, which is kind of like, apparently they're starting the freshman, but it's like, same available. Like if these injuries continue to pile up, and you have questions whether or not DJ Lagway, or in LSU's case, I don't want to bring up LSU, but yeah, it's the same thing for both these teams. It's like if DJ Lagway's not playing, if Harrison Bailey is a significant 90% downgrade. This is really bad, and I'm not trying to be mean to the kid. I mean, at least he's better than the kid from Yale last year when he came in for the Texas game. That looked absolutely atrocious. But it's like that doesn't give me any confidence whatsoever. And if they did end up getting and keeping the Purdy kid from Charlotte, if he was able to actually get into the, everything was fine, he had no issues with his grades or whatever. If it was the backup, I'll feel way more confident about Florida in terms of not having to change your offense so much. Again, the Purdy kid, he's bigger, he's more of a power running quarterback, sort of like again, sort of like Anthony Richardson, and now with DJ Lagway sort of fits that mold, I won't have too much of a problem here. Again, I think the folks over in Gainesville really hope he was going to be on the team, and he's not. So, okay. They're going to have to hope and pray what freaking Harrison Bailey will be the hero. No, I don't think so. Well, look, I'm not sure he means it a kid, but it's just from what I'm hearing, he's kind of a crapper player. So, yeah, Florida injury situation. This doesn't look good, man. And look, should I go ahead and say that? Yeah, we'll probably do our internal polling, our poll. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet, but it's obviously, we're not doing it now, but we'll do it, I think, on Tuesday next week. We'll have our own internal poll when we rank our teams before the season. I was originally probably going to have Florida close to the top 10, sort of, I guess, i.e., like what Josh Pate had back in the spring and his, not the power rankings, but his post-spring rankings. I may have to rethink that a little bit. Just saying, may have to rethink it, because originally I was going to have them somewhere like in the 12 to 10 range. Now I feel like they'll probably be barely in the top 25. So, these injuries here are really starting to concern me here for Florida and LSU to a certain extent as well. I guess you can make this half LSU and half Florida here, but yeah. Speaking of the SEC here, Texas A&M. Not really much of a major camp news here. It's been, so far from what I've been hearing, it's been kind of been steady Eddie. But really want to focus on Marcel Reed, right? I mean, we talked about he's obviously probably going to be the starter there. Something that Bud brought up yesterday on Cover 3 when they were doing their win totals about Marcel Reed and A&M is that I think when he came in at times last year, especially against those really bad teams like Florida last year, when they had Austin Armstrong, the freaking computer nerd, calling the defense. Now he got demoted midseason with Roberts, the guy who was at Auburn a couple years ago. And that's when Marcel Reed first started, and he was going against that stupid defense from Austin Armstrong, and obviously it wasn't good enough, and it was really terrible. And obviously that Florida defense got a lot better as the season went along. So I think what Bud was saying yesterday, and I agree to a certain extent, that yes, I think Marcel Reed was playing against a lot of average to below average defenses, like Florida I just mentioned, Missouri. I don't think did he play against Missouri? I don't know if he did or not. No, he didn't. He may have played in the second half, but whatever. Still, it kind of applies here. I mean, you have them, LSU last year. Even though I like the staff there, here's LSU again being brought up. I like the staff last year for LSU, and same for this year. It's just the talent there is just kind of. But I think you notice when teams started to get more film on him on Reed, it's like you can figure him out. He's more of a runner. His throwing stuff, it's okay. So, like I said before, it's like. Yeah, that, and you have him not going to SEC media days, and I get it. It's not like the end all be all, but I do agree with Bud a little bit too. It's like a little concerning. It's like you didn't bring him, okay? Doesn't really. It's kind of odd because most teams who are confident in their quarterbacks will bring their quarterback to a media event if it warrants it, right? And something like SEC media days, I'm sure most teams will bring their starting quarterback, and you didn't. It's like, okay, all right. But apparently he'll probably be the starter. It looks like. So, I mean, look, if he can show me something they didn't do last year, maybe he has improved a little bit as a passer. Maybe they do lean into his legs a little bit. And look, they have Colin Klein as their coordinator. And look, Colin Klein, I will say this, he was one of the best running quarterbacks I've ever seen in college football. Like, it's like him, Dak, Nick Fitzgerald at Mississippi State, Cam, obviously, and Tim Tebow. And so those are, the all-time great running quarterbacks. And I guess Lamar and Kyler Murray, but I guess Jalen Hurts too. But, yeah, I mean, he's in there. He's up there, right? And his offense obviously is tailored to running quarterbacks. So could it work? Absolutely. Could it look horrific and he doesn't improve from what he did last year? That can happen too. So at Michigan, speaking of Michigan, of course, we just talked about the whole NCAA thing, but outside of that, actual football, QB situation, no wide receivers here. I mean, look, it's likely you'll probably have Bryce Underwood start for them. Cool, right? That's good. But it sucks. So that is like his third game he'll be playing is at Oklahoma against a veteran head coach, D coordinator, Brent Venables, and I still don't like that, or at least I don't like the aspect of that. But wide receivers, yeah, I mean it's just not could be better. I mean they didn't upgrade anything. They didn't really go into the portal and upgrade what they had last year. It's mostly the same room, which doesn't make me feel that good because remember last year they were trying to tailor that offense to Alex George, which meant with Sean Moore and company is no receivers in the portal. We're not getting those. We have a guy who can't throw, but at least he can throw reasonably. So the receivers were okay with we'll just rely on him in the zone read game. And then it turns out during fall camp this time last year, it's like, oh, they realized that he really can't throw the football. Instead of oh, he can't throw the football, but he's at least okay at it. It's, oh, he really can't do it. And I think with Bryce Underwood, it's not like I'm saying they sabotaged him, but they kind of did because they didn't upgrade the talent at receiver. But Bryce Underwood is a much better player than Alex Orji was. I'm saying the class thing out loud, right? So regardless of whoever it is, whether it's the veteran guys they have there or Bryce, this wide receiver room, guys, is not going to get any better. It's not going to all of a sudden these guys who were there last year and who were there because they were tailoring the offense to Alex Orji, now they're still there, and Michigan still, for some reason, didn't go out and get kids in the portal. Now, they'll say the talent obviously wasn't what it was like 2 years ago in the portal, but still, you should at least tried. Eric Singleton, hint, wink, wink. It's just, it's not really that good. So, cool. We'll see what happens with that. Notre Dame, CJ Carr and Kenny Minchie. Still no decision yet. And this is concerning because, look, me and Josh Payton and some of these other folks in the industry, we were kind of going, yeah, CJ Carr, Lloyd Carr's grandson. He has, part of that good lineage there. Should be the starter, right? Former 4 or 5 star recruit. Should be the starter, right? No. It seems like Minchie is really pushing. And in fact, according to, I think it was Pete Nakos or someone like him. I don't remember, but apparently he's like pushing for number 1 starter. That's look, man, I'm not trying to like discredit Kenny Minchie here. And look, he could end up being a really good player. Apparently, he's shown that he is way more doable, more mobile than Carr is. I think CJ Carr is more like a traditional pocket passer. I don't think he's a statue, but he's obviously not going to run, right? He's more of a traditional pocket passer. But it's just like I just thought he was better than this, CJ Carr, and I just felt like that he was much better than this. I thought he would take over this job, and he still could, but sort of echoing what Josh Pitt said on Tuesday, is just kind of disappointed. I thought he was much better than this. And the fact that this has not been settled yet, and he is not the starter, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, a little worried. Yeah, I thought at least worried for the future because, again, I thought Carr was going to be him. I guess he is him or whatever. Never mind. But that just sounded like odd grammar. But it's like I thought he was going to be the starter, and I think a lot of folks thought that too. But just kind of a little disappointed, a little bit. Again, maybe he wasn't ready yet. That's possible too, right? There's a possibility here, even though he's a coach's son and whatnot, and at least you have some knowledge of football, and right, and at least he should be competent. But maybe he isn't. Maybe maybe there's other things going on. What's really interesting that Josh Bay brought this up on was it Sunday or Tuesday? Maybe it's Sunday. Sort of mentioning that there was he wasn't going to reveal who this was, and I get it, and sake of embarrassing the player here, but I'm starting to think that what he said on Sunday, I'm pretty sure it was on Sunday, that he was saying that he heard some reliable sources that one of these major QB battles, that apparently one of the QBs is having a phone addiction problem and like team meetings and stuff, and apparently the coaches are really pissed at him. They're really like pissed at the fact that he can't stay off his phone. I'm starting to believe that it might be CJ Carr. I'm not saying I have anyone telling me that, but in my opinion, I think that's what he was referring to. And if that's the case, that's really disappointing and that's really embarrassing. So, okay, if it means that Kenny Minchie's on his phone 247, and look, I mean, Josh made a good point. I think it was on John Middlecoff's show, the guy who's with Colin and his network, Colin Coward, brought up that, look, this is the first, especially a lot of these true freshmen, but this is really the first time in college football, a lot of these older coaches that were starting to deal with this, the cell phone era, right? A lot of these kids who were growing up in the 2010s and the early 2010s and whatnot. And a lot of these kids are sort of like, the iPad culture, kids who are more used to, TikTok and YouTube videos and, personal brands and whatnot. And this era is now going to be playing college football. And I think for all these coaches, and you've seen it with, guys like Rich Rod saying, hey, I don't want you guys doing freaking TikTok and, doing social media stuff here in practice. Like, we're not doing that, whatever. I think that's a real issue. And again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm not saying I've heard anything about this, but I just really do think that what Josh Pate said on Sunday night about, on his Sunday show, saying that there was like a QB battle and apparently it has to do with one of the quarterbacks is having a phone addiction problem. It just wouldn't surprise me if it turns out that was CJ Carr. And that's why he is not being labeled as the favorite to win the starting job. And that's disappointing and that's embarrassing. So I'm not trying to be mean to the kid, but come on, dude. Like, if that's a problem, then that's a personal problem. That's not. I don't blame, the coaching staff there in South Bend and, that whole the whole crew up there. It's like I don't blame them for being pissed off. They should, because you're a 4 or 5-star, 4-star kid. You are a coach's son. You are a son of, besides Jim Harbaugh, maybe the last other living great head coach in Michigan football. It's like, I don't get it, man. And then look, I'm not saying this isn't the case, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is. It kind of makes sense, right? It's like 5-star kid getting beat out by a kid that a lot of folks were not expecting to be the starter. Kind of lines up with that rumor that Josh Pate, or not rumor, but report that Josh was talking about starting on Sunday. So at least to me, that's what I think it is. I could be totally wrong on this. Could be not related, but I'm starting to suspect that the phone addiction thing that Josh brought up and this whole CJ Carr, Kenny Michigan thing, it's related. I think there is some connection here. So, yeah, fall camp intel, a lot of negativity, but hopefully we'll get some positive stuff going forward. Well, actually, no, we're not done yet. I forgot one. Speaking of negativity, it continues. Florida State, team chemistry stuff. Apparently it's a problem. They had a kid who got kicked off the team yesterday. It's a cornerback. I believe I forget the guy's name. He's like a former 4 or 5-star cornerback. He gets kicked off. Apparently he was fighting one of the position coaches. Now, to be fair, they didn't have near Jacksonville. When I went by, well, at least when I was going by practice and whatnot, it seems like everything was fine, but turns out everything wasn't okay. And apparently from Brandon Marcello on his show he's on with CBS Sports, their podcast on YouTube, I think it's like the Cultural Insider or whatever, I forget the name of it, but he mentioned from his source that not only is it a bad look for the cornerback who got dismissed, but it's also a bad look for the coaching staff, because one of the assistant coaches was also physically altercation, or at least was a part of it, and I'm assuming it involves like shoving or punches being thrown, but it's not a good, man. I mean, look, for a team that's already fragile and kind of made out of glass, you had last year of the mutiny against Mike Norvell, and everyone was sort of quitting. Everyone's all mad. It's like, look, man, it can happen again. And I know, look, the Florida State Bama game, whatever. Look, it could be a close game or a blowout, and we'll eventually preview that game. But it's not that game you should be worried about if you're a Florida State fan. It's the Virginia game on Thursday night or Friday night, a few weeks later. If you lose that game, I think Bud said it before on Noel Cassidy on Cover 3. Fully expecting the mutiny. Like that. I'm sorry, but that's just the way college football is right now. And that's the way it sounds like that's happening in Tallahassee. It's just not good right now. And not to mention the stuff about Tommy Castellanos and the fact that he's, very hot and cold. You can make a lot of wow throws of, wow, that was really cool, to, oh my God, bro, like stuff like that. So, yeah, Florida State, a lot of issues there too. And look, just the bottom line here, as we sort of move out of this part of the show, things happen, right? Every team has flaws. And until we get to week 1 and the first couple of weeks, you will have situations for a lot of these good teams, like your Tennessees of the world, like not just like them exclusively, like Tennessee, Florida, Notre Dame, Miami. All these teams have flaws, right? Even the really good teams like Texas and Ohio State, they have flaws. They'll be exposed week 1. Miami's flaws will be exposed week 1 because, they were playing high-quality opponents. And same with Auburn, too. Auburn has flaws, too, and all these teams have flaws, but they might all be exposed, at the same time. Some of them will be exposed later in the year, or at least like later in the first half of the season. Some will be exposed week 1. And I think this spring and, well, yeah, I guess spring and now this fall camp, that is showing that all these teams have flaws. But I think for a lot of people, including me, that it's a little bit different hearing about it during a practice report in February, March, April, and like early August. It's different hearing those flaws from that. It's a little bit different than seeing it on the field playing out. I mean, it's just different. Like, I think the visualization of, for example, Florida State, if they lose to Virginia on that Friday or Thursday night, and, the ESPN cameras show all the players and they're all mad and pissed off, and there's guys who are sitting by themselves and like they look like, dead fish in the seafood aisle at Publix, and it's just like, it's different seeing it visually than hearing about it. And for a lot of these teams, man, it's just, they have a lot of flaws, and unfortunately, because of social media and all of that, you're seeing a lot of it early in a lot of ways, and you would have seen it in past years. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these teams have flaws, obviously, and a lot of them have been expressed already and detailed. But there's also the flaws that you don't know, and I think those will be revealed in either week 1 or a little bit after week 1 for a lot of these teams, because a lot of them don't play major teams. Yeah, week 1, a lot of them play your FCS or G5. Some of them will play your big games later on in the first few weeks. So, yeah, fall camp intel is a lot of fun. I know today was pretty negative, start off the show, but unfortunately, that's going to be pretty negative going forward because we have Arkansas team preview or team record projection. We have some pretty disappointing Marvel news, to say the least. And, yeah, this is going to be a very disappointing show. Unfortunately, a very negative show. But hopefully next Tuesday will be more hopeful. Hopefully, I mean to say hope, and then mean to say hopefully twice, but or hope twice there in the way. But perhaps we'll be more hopeful next week. There we go. So I'm gonna get some water real quick, and we'll move on to Arkansas team record projection. We'll move on to the Marvel news, and we'll be out of here. All right. I guess as we are here, again, make sure to subscribe to the channel, YouTube page, subscribe, like the stream or the video when we post those, which we will tomorrow, by the way, reminder. Spotify feed, Twitter X, make sure to follow us over there. Make sure you guys do all of that because it's helps us keep this show free and it gives us more attention again, especially with now the season about to start. For all intents and purposes, next week with Iowa State. Iowa. That's later. It's a bit later on, but Iowa State, Kansas State. If that game happening next week, and season kicking off, I think it'd be really cool to have us get an influx of subscribers. So and again, not to mention too, a lot of shows going on hiatus. I know a couple of shows that are either about to be off or are off. Hopefully, you guys come in and subscribe to our channel because we don't take any vacation time. Even if for some reason we can't do a show whether it's weather related with hurricanes or other reasons, we'll try to have shows for you, whether it's like pre-recorded or whatever. Of course, I'll be active on Twitter, but we don't take necessarily vacations, if you will. We'll have times we'll have to pre-record some shows. We did so back all the way during 4th of July. We may have to, by the way. I think for week one, I think for week one we may have to do some pre-recorded stuff. But we'll still have shows. The schedule's gonna get a little weird, like it was last year, if you remember. But after that, we should be okay. I mean, besides any hurricanes or anything like that, I think the schedule for the most part should be fine. But again, always reminder of hurricanes and stuff. And by the way, I'll give you guys a little bit more of an update on what's going on with the tropics towards the very end. But team record projection for Arkansas. Have to do this. This is going to be another negative segment. Again, it's a lot of negativity today. Look, I like Sam Pittman as a guy, at least him as a human being. Seems pretty chill. He's someone that, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun probably going to the bars and stuff again, having a few beers and whatnot and eating nachos and stuff and telling stories and whatnot. I'm sure he's great. He's great to hang out with. Seems like one of the most laid back head coaches I could think of, right? But unfortunately for Arkansas, Sam Pittman, if you're listening, look, again, I'm nothing against you as a human being, as a man, but it's just I think your time's running out. I'm not the only one saying that either. There's been a lot of conversation about, will he make it towards their first? I believe like last year there's 2 bye weeks. Saying, will he make it to either the bye weeks? Will he finish the season as a head coach? They're over win total from FanDuel's 5.5. It's tough. It really is tough. And their schedule, while it's not, we can talk about the team too. It's not. They have Taylor Green. They have some okay talent. And I actually, I will actually say this. I think Taylor Green's kind of underrated. He's a good quarterback. He's not bad. I think if you're Green though, I think I'm going to some of the Bet Elliott mentioned on either yesterday's show on Monday. I think it was Monday when they're doing their win totals for the SEC. Kind of agree with him. It's like, man, if you're Taylor Green, kind of wish you went somewhere else besides Arkansas. It's like Like I get it. I get it. Bobby Petrino as an offensive coordinator, very attractive, right? All the accolades he has as an offensive play caller when he has good talent, Lamar and whatnot. It's like, yeah, it sounds good, but it's like, the talent's terrible and their team's probably going to be awful. And there's not something to say here. They lost a lot of guys in the portal. I think last year, in the last few years, they've had a lot of turnover on the staff. It's just, I don't know. It's been kind of sad up there, and it's unfortunate because I think Arkansas, what do you think of Arkansas? I think what Bud Elliott says. They're definitely one of the schools that falls into the take the checks, take the losses, and that's understandable, right? Because they are definitely with more under resources than others, but they're not far off. I mean, you think about it, with Arkansas, you have the Tyson Foods, Walmart. I think like JB Hunt, the freight company, apparently is out there too. I didn't realize that until a couple of days ago. But yeah, I mean, you have sources of income there that you can get money, and the thinking is, and I guess I was going to just say it. What I'm saying here is referring to what Josh Pate said on his show Sunday, that there is a thinking that if Sam Pittman were to not survive this year, which is looking very likely, that don't be surprised if you hear John Gruden get brought up, potentially as a head coach there. Sort of, i.e., what they did in basketball with John Calipari coming over from Kentucky and whatnot. It's also not the same. It's not like you're getting a former former NBA coach and bring him in to coach basketball. But for Arkansas, I mean, it's a big enough name. Everyone knows who he is. And look, the off the field stuff that's different. Right? That's a whole other. That's more going to the legal stuff. But for the coaching stuff, as a Bucs fan, look, I respect John Gruden. He's a good coach. Am I glad they brought him back to Ring of Honor? Yes. Do I acknowledge his off the field stuff? Yes. We don't have to go into that here. You can go to other stuff for that. Because I think it's pretty clear if you've been in the know, if you're NFL or just a sports fan in general, you know what happened. But do I respect John Gruden as a coach? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know things in Tampa didn't end the way they really should have. By the way, there's a really good secret base. Used to be SB Nation, but one of their collapse videos, one of their first ones, of course, was Tampa. You should listen to that one. If you're not a Tampa fan, like me, of course, I knew the history and whatnot, but if you're not, go watch it. I think it details what really happened and sort of how fast it fell from the 02, 03 years, and then it just completely fell apart. But, yeah, I know it didn't end well in Tampa. I know it didn't end well with the Raiders the first and the second time. But he's a well-known name. And I think for Arkansas, it's like what Bud says all the time. It's, restart the hype cycle every 4 or 5 years, get the fans happy, get the boosters happy. Tell them, hey, if we just hired this coach, we're going to the national championship. Even though you're lying to you, it's not a bad lie, it's a good lie because obviously it works and it's good marketing. But get the hype cycle going, raw, go Hogs, woo! And then, you bring John Gruden in, whoever, and then you have to do it again in a couple of years. It's probably gonna, be a lot of ups and downs and probably more downs than ups. But for Arkansas this year, is there a path for them to get to 6 wins? Let's go off the John Gruden stuff for just a little bit here. Is it possible for them to go 6-6? Yes, that's the best case scenario. I think 6 wins here is not impossible, especially, and I think Bud brought this up. I think on Monday, and I agree. It's from Auburn all the way to Missouri. There's about 3. That's 4 games. That's 4. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? There's about 3 or 4 teams on there that you could get. Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, and I guess Missouri. I guess to a certain extent you could get. But I think the ones you're really looking at is Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU. Those 3 teams, Auburn, Mississippi State, LSU, all of them could potentially have interim coaches or could be on total quit mode by the time Halloween comes. That's not impossible, right? And you get them out, you get 2 of those at home. You have to go to LSU. That's a little more difficult, but still, I mean, LSU could have an interim by then. Who knows? But especially if Auburn, you can get them. It's impossible. Who knows? I mean, that team looks like Florida State. They could be on quit watch, and everyone's mad and pissed off, and players are threatening to leave and whatnot. And maybe you have Hugh Freeze already out by then. You have interim and stuff. But I mean, you could beat them. You could beat Mississippi State. I think out of all the SEC teams, I think Miss State definitely the one you probably should win if you have a little more talent than they do. And I also believe a better coaching staff probably. LSU, that's going to be tough on the road. Texas, ditto. Missouri, we'll see. That's usually competitive. But you could get some of those wins. You can even get A&M. A&M comes to, that's finally out of Jerry World, thank God. But that's in Fayetteville this year. It's no longer a neutral side, so you can get them. They also do get Notre Dame. Unfortunately, not at night, but it's at noon, so take that for what it's worth. And so there's opportunities, I guess. I mean, I'm assuming you'll start 2-0 because you have your in-state G5 and you have your FCS team. Then it gets real in a hurry with Ole Miss on the road, and then you have Memphis, which is one of the better G5 teams. You have Notre Dame coming to town, so it's. But I don't know, man. It's tough. So the best case scenario for Arkansas, yes, it's 6-6. That would be around the FanDuel number. The worst case is 2-10. Could have very easily went 0-12 here, or not 0-12, but 1-11. That's not impossible. I think 2-10 is probably more likely here as a worst case. Most reasonable for Arkansas is unfortunately 4-8. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't know. They're just like them and Mississippi State, Kentucky. I guess Auburn fits in there as well. They just those are the 4 teams where I'm just like I don't know, man. I don't know. I find it very hard for you guys to. I find it very hard to at least be confident in you to do something different than what you've been presenting to us for the last couple of years. I just can't. I guess South Carolina too, but that's a little bit different because he lost a whole bunch of talent. But going back to John Gruden stuff again, like I think the expectation is yes, this job will probably come open. It was almost open a couple years ago, right after the Auburn loss a couple years ago when you guys got totally destroyed at home. Look again, I think Sam Pittman's a great human being. He's probably fun to go around with. And again, like I said, it's probably one of those people that'd be fun to go up to like a local bar and get some beer and whatnot and hang out. But as a football coach, I know he's done some good stuff, right? It's not. I know this isn't the Chad Morris era anymore. I know that, and I know it's, they've really improved, and the talent on the roster is a lot better now. They had some success early, and I congratulate them on that. I think that season in 2021 will probably go down as one of the better, unfortunately, Arkansas seasons in my lifetime. That was really good, right? But it's hard to do, man. It really is hard to do, and unfortunately for Arkansas, again, similar to like South Carolina and some of these other like Mississippi State, it's take the checks, take the losses. It's just this is how the game. That's just how it goes. And the SEC, and again, I mean, if you were to put Arkansas and the Big 12, or I guess our Big 12 makes sense geographically, I guarantee you Arkansas's win total would be up to like 7.5, probably 8.5. They'll be a little bit higher because they're better than a lot of those teams in the Big 12. They're better than Houston, talent-wise and coaching-wise. It's a little different. I like I do like Willie Fritz over Sam Pittman as a coach. Better than Houston, better than Kansas, I think. Though I think their coaching staff is a lot better. They'll just be a lot better. I mean, Oklahoma State. But then again, I like the gun team, but I think the roster is way worse than Arkansas. See, they'll be favored by. They'll definitely be a lot better place in the Big 12 than we're being in the SEC or any other conference. Heck, if you put Arkansas in the G5, they'd be like the best team in the G5, but they're not. They're playing the SEC, and unfortunately, again, it's take the check, take the losses. Be thankful you're in the SEC, have the right sticker on your helmet, and I don't know, man. It's tough. It really is tough, and I think those fans there do care. I know a lot of the beat writers like Trey Biddy, he does care. A lot of those folks do care, but it's just really tough, man. It really is tough, and I think those folks would admit it to you. It's it really is a very weird situation up there right now. Again, could the Gruden stuff happen? I can't grave Josh Pape. I can see it happening. I mean, look, you have all those sponsors I just mentioned, or at least companies that invest in you and are willing to support you. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to think. It's not impossible that come like November, December, you start hearing, hey, John Gruden's around Fayetteville or whatever. Well, I guess it's not really that, but, hey, they're meeting with Gruden apparently. They're having Zoom meetings and they're going out to undisclosed locations and meeting with them and whatnot. Could happen, but I think it is important, though. And I do agree that John Gruden stuff is a real thing, and I believe it is actually real this time, that there is real feels in the coaching industry and the agent industry probably that he may end up taking one of these jobs, one of these big SEC jobs, or it may not even be him, right? John Summerall is certainly out there, but no, I think Summerall is looking for a bigger job, like think Auburn, LSU, probably, but even Florida to a certain extent, though I don't know if Florida would go the G5 route again. I think they'll much rather go a different direction, but whatever. We're not turning this down to a hot coaching or a hot seat coaching segment, but I don't know, man. It really is weird for Arkansas right now we'll just have my brain just shut off. For Arkansas, it's tough. I get it, but it's just what it is. It just is what it is, and there's nothing. Unless you guys can somehow get out of this conference, which I would not recommend doing from a financial standpoint, because clearly you're in the right place, and you have the right sticker on your helmet. You have the right sticker on your helmet. You're getting the TV money. Obviously, no, but just from a fan excitement standpoint, it's like, would going to the Big 12 really hurt that much? And from a fan perspective, no. But I get it. From a financial standpoint, yeah, it would be stupid and pretty idiotic to do. But oh well. But yeah, for Arkansas, best case 6-6, worst case 2-10. Reasonable probably be 4-8. So That's it for the college football stuff. We got some Marvel news, and again, the negativity continues here, I guess. But we get some more drink of water here. We'll do the Marvel stuff, and we'll wrap up the show. Again, if you're, excuse me, I think the folks on Spotify weren't connected yet, but yeah, if you're wondering what happened there, your audio didn't shut off. I was just getting some water, but yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so Marvel news. Uh, so the reason why I know the stream earlier, I know a lot of you are probably wondering, hey, why was the stream scheduled to start at 1:40, but now it's 2 o'clock? Well, it's because I was listening to Josh over at Den of Nerds, and he had a Rob from Comics Explain uh, explaining, I guess, if you will, or at least talking about the recent Marvel news stuff, and I got distracted by that. And I was listening to that, and I didn't realize that we were, I was a little bit behind, but kind of makes sense. So it was for a good reason. I was just listening to what him and Rob and what Rob and Josh were talking about. But anyway, so the Marvel news, what's happening here? So within the last 12 hours or so, a lot of information started to come out about Doomsday. We've known for a while. There's been a lot of rumors and stuff, and a lot of the confirmed stuff, like the Fantastic Four from the recent F4 movie that came out weeks ago. They'll be in the movie, of course. Thunderbolts, New Avengers, and whatnot. They'll be in it. Sam Wilson's Avengers. You also have the OG X-Men, though not all of them, as I've been saying. I think some of them are not coming back for various reasons. But the leaks and rumors of the story, and it's been kind of strange because with Marvel, this is more of a bigger issue here with Marvel lately. It's been this whole problem of like the fake leaks and stuff, and I think that's really started after Spider-Man, No Way Home, with like the visual stuff getting leaked out. Like the trailer was leaked like way before it originally came out, and you have like the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man, like their versions of Peter. Photos were circulating early, like him and like Charlie Cox as Daredevil was leaked like 2 weeks before the movie came out. I think Marvel saw that, I think, and they went, let's really hammer this down. Let's really lock this down. Let's start doing other things and tactics to avoid our fans and some of these leakers and scoopers online, mostly on X and Twitter, Twitter, to sort of like preventing them from putting out real information. And I think people like, Alex Perez and Josh over at Den of Nerds and whatnot, a lot of them have been pretty vocal about this. This is a real thing that Marvel and the sort of holes in the ship, if you will, that have been sort of leaking this information have been told, hey, if you get asked, tell them this instead of saying this, please do not do this and whatnot, or don't show them this content art, or don't send them this or whatever. So they've been cracking down on that stuff, and I think from a general sense, and it's understandable. So you don't want to have your entire film revealed like a month before it comes out. Like for example, Quantumania, same thing. Like the translation from Brazil or whatever came out early, and that's when folks started really getting concerned about the dialogue. It's like, oh man, oh. So what happened with Doomsday, and originally there's been a lot of stuff about like the evil Avengers, and they're going to bring back the OG Avengers with, bring back like Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, evil versions of, Hulk and, Black Widow and Captain America, Hydra Cap, which is from the comics, by the way. It's not nothing new or something that Marvel would have created or the MCU would have created to go along with Doctor Doom. There's going to be this whole thing where it's like the new Avengers of Sam and I guess Thunderbolts would be fighting against their mentors, the people that looked up to as mentors or mentorees or whatever. And I think for a lot of us, when that was being rumored about like Alex Perez and all of them, all the other Twitter and social media scoopers, that when they were saying that, it's like, oh, that's really cool. That makes sense, right? Of course, Doctor Doom would do that and use him looking like Tony Stark to their advantage, right? To make some like, hey, we're just multiverse Avengers. It's cool, deal with it. And the original stick was, hey, they're gonna do this and come to 616 Earth, and they're gonna make it look like they were just alternate universe Avengers, and they look different. You'll deal with it, and there's incursions happening, and we need to go stop them and go fight the other worlds. And I guess it would eventually end up having all of the Earth, our main Earth Avengers fighting against the OG Fox X-Men. So, and along with the Fantastic Four, while Doctor Doom and all of them would orchestrate that, and it'll ultimately be a whole, thing where it turns out it's a whole, ruse to get them fighting and distracted while, Doctor Doom was was going to go and find Loki and kill him or whatever and take over his powers and create battle worlds. So that was the original idea. Well, at least the original thinking, right? The original thinking, and not to mention again, them playing off of, RDJ looking like Tony Stark and his version of Doom was gonna. That was the whole thing, and that was sort of the experience they were going for. Well, it turns out from people, a lot of these leakers and scoopers on social media now. Josh Rivet Dev Nerds on his, he did a video this morning. He did a stream, or I think he's doing a stream with him and Rob from Comics Explain. That's not the case anymore, apparently, and apparently that was all fake and not true. That apparently has like something to do with like Steve Rogers going back in time, and apparently that's like a problem, and like Dr. Doom's gonna try to kill him. Okay, whatever, fine. That's interesting in its own, but it's like that sounds kind of lame. And apparently there's no evil Avengers, which is like And then the real one that really is kind of odd is that apparently RDJ being cast as Dr. Doom, and the original thinking was, they're going to plans that, and there's gonna be the whole bit is that he looks like Tony Stark, and there might be something to that. Well, apparently him being cast as Dr. Doom is just that he's being casted as Dr. Doom, and him looking like Tony Stark is just whatever. It's a footnote. I have an issue with that, and this is a broader issue too, which is like you're hearing all this stuff, and it's been an issue for Marvel for a while, right? Because you're hearing stuff from Deadpool and Wolverine, of like all these rumors last year, then the stuff Fantastic Four from Fantastic Four, and even Captain America: Brave New World. It's like, man, there's so many cool things you're leaving out of these movies, or you're leaving out, or we're being told, but ended up not being true. It's like all these fan theories and things you're leaving out. It's like it's so much better than what you're presenting us. Now for Fantastic Four, for most part, I think a lot of folks liked what they ended up doing with it. But for Captain America: Brave New World, it's like he had connections to the Hulk, and like Amadeus Cho wasn't going to be in the movie. If you don't know, he's like the teenager Hulk or whatever from the comics we were selling, who gets infused with like Bruce Banner's blood and whatnot. He becomes a Hulk character. Yeah, Amadeus Cho. He was going to be in the movie, right? They even shot, and it's been revealed from people who worked on the film, that they were shooting stuff at Stark Industries where that character was going to be at. So this was in the movie, and they ended up cutting it out. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, at least we got it confirmed, but it's just like, why would you cut it out? Like, that would have been kind of cool to see that, but they didn't do it. They ended up doing it, and now they're doing it again with Doomsday, where it's like we're hearing all this stuff about evil Avengers, and look, is it possible it's fake leaks and whatnot? That ends up being the case, yes, but it's also possible, could it be like original concept art that may have gone leaked out, and then Marvel at the last minute said, we're not doing this, it's too much money, we're already paying all these other Fox X-Men OG actors and all these other actors and actresses. It's like, we don't need to inflate the budget even more. But it's like the original ideas or these fake rumors sound a lot better than what we're being presented, at least right now. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's frustrating. It's weird. And look, could this all be a truce? Could this all be fake? And it turns out this is the fake leaks, and what we were hearing originally is true. Yes. Could it actually be what it is? That what we heard originally was fake, and this is true? Yes. So the bottom line is we just don't know. And that's kind of embarrassing. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, and the fact, too, that they're having issues with like the script has been a bit of a mess and had to rewrite some stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I think to a certain extent, I understand why they had to push this from May to December of next year, because it's very clear. This movie, this is going to be a MF of a production. Like, it's going to take a long time. And not to mention, too, I think Alex Perez over at the Cosmic Circus did his monthly Q&A or whatever. And apparently from what he said, look, there's a lot of actors and actresses for a lot of these, like, for example, like the Fox X-Men, that haven't even been on set yet. They have not arrived. Only their stunt doubles have been present. Like, they'll eventually get them in to film stuff here soon. But, and like I mentioned, too, again, like, you're not getting everyone back from the Fox X-Men. I've been pretty vocal about that. I think it's pretty obvious that certain characters aren't going to appear. A lot of them you would expect to be there, you would imagine would be there, and Doomsday they're not going to be there. I'm just telling you, I'm really confident that's not going to happen. Hopefully I'm wrong on that, but that's just my thinking. But yeah, this new Doomsday stuff is just, I don't know, man. It's really confusing. It's just really mind-boggling how, again, the stuff that the fans are theorizing, the original leaks, or what we thought were leaks, end up being a lot better than what the movies were getting. It's like, I don't know. It really is weird. So yeah, that's the Doomsday stuff. Again, it sounds lame, and the Steve Rogers stuff and him being the reason why a lot of the multiverse is collapsing. Okay, that's fine. That actually sounds interesting. But it's just like the Doctor Doom stuff. It's like, okay, so they're not playing into it. Like, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Well, maybe that's, I don't know why I just said there, but like, why would they not play into it? Like why are they doing this? Like, why are they just, okay, we're casting RDJ as Doctor Doom because we're just doing it because everyone was frowning, so let's make everyone smile. And that's kind of what it feels like. And I think for a lot of me and a lot of the, the whether you're a movie or comic fans or both or one or the other, it's just like why? Like, there's so many options, like so many storylines of like if the original rumors were true about like the OG Avengers being evil, like evil variants, like that would have been so cool, and it would have made sense story wise, and really capitalized on the the whole multiverse gig and whatnot would have actually made sense. But it's just like I don't know. It really is disappointing and strange that this is the direction they're apparently going, and it's like there's a lot of, the way I can describe this, there's a lot of flair, there's a lot of eye popping stuff. There's no substance. It's like cool, like they're doing all this stuff, but what's the point? Like, what's the point of bringing in Doctor Doom, having him look like Tony Stark, but you're not playing into it? Like, why aren't you doing that? Like, why aren't you playing him more into the multiverse stuff and doing what you should have done in Multiverse of Madness and having way more variants instead of having this little 7 to 10 minute scene in 838 where it's like, cool, we got Jim from The Office as Mr. Fantastic, and we have all these variant characters. Like, cool, that's great, but I kind of wish that was we saw more weird stuff like that. And it's like, now they're not even doing that. Apparently, it's like, cool, we're bringing back the original Fox X, or at least some of them. Cool, like they're not really. That's not surprising. We know that, and apparently there's no other secret villains either. There's no, apparently those rumors going back to last year of like, hey, they could be doing like variants of Thanos and stuff like that. That's not on the table apparently anymore, or if it was on the table, or if it was, they're just not doing it anymore. Which is, again, it's like, why would you not be leaning into that? But yeah, that's the Doomsday stuff. More negativity here. I know it's been a very negative show, but it wasn't intended. It's just there's a lot of things happening. But I guess as we were ending here, like I promised, we'll touch on the tropics. There is stuff going on for sure. We have Aaron in the Atlantic. It's strengthening. It's looking a lot better now. There's also a 40% area in the Gulf, in the Western Gulf. I'm not too concerned. It's, regardless of anything forms there, it's going to be like a big rainmaker for Texas. Like, they need more rain. But Aaron, apparently at the last update, we'll get one here within the next hour or so, a couple hours. 60 mile per hour winds. Pressure is down below 1,000 millibars, so that means it's strengthening. Still forecasted to be a major hurricane as it moves. Let me get back to the other map here. It'll be a major hurricane going past like Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and moving somewhat close to the Caribbean. That's been really weird because the models, like I said before, the models are the models. They'll do their thing. Some models are saying, look, they may be a little more closer to the Bahamas, and they may get some advisories there. And look, clearly we'll get advisories for the northern Caribbean. I think we will. Mostly tropical storm advisories, like a watch or something, probably starting tomorrow morning, probably, because this will, or either tomorrow or Saturday, I'd imagine we'll probably get some advisories there. So if you're living over there, listening to the show, you should be aware of that, right? I mean, it is August, mid-August, and this is something that's expected around this time of the year. But yeah, we'll probably get some advisories from the northern Caribbean, probably some tropical storm advisories, stuff like that. I don't think we'll get any hurricane-related stuff. We maybe, if it moves a little further to the south and west, then we will. But I think on the current track, if it stays a little bit off, I think anything tropical storm-related is probably appropriate. That's just me talking. But yeah, so it should be a major hurricane as it sort of trucks along. And at the moment, it is turning. But of course, folks in Bermuda, it's going to get really close for you. And regardless, there's going to be a lot of waves. And I think that's something that's been really hammered down from the Hurricane Center. That look, regardless if there's any impacts in Bermuda or even in the Northern Caribbean, Bahamas, there's going to get a lot of waves from this. I mean, rip current, serious situation for that. Obviously, don't feel confident. I wouldn't recommend going in the water, but if you do, obviously stay near a lifeguard and whatnot. At least near a lifeguard's, area of responsibility. But there's been some models hinting at, it gets close to the U.S., gets close to Bermuda. regardless, you still be watching it, right? I mean, the comparison here, in a lot of senses, if you want to use analogs, Florence is one back in like 2018 where it looked like, hey, it's gonna be a fish storm, and then all of a sudden it's actually coming here to the U.S. And another one is Francis back in '04. And that was a little bit young. That was a little bit. I was born, but it was a little bit before my time. I was like still a kid, like a toddler. But you know, it's sort of like, with this storm, if Francis, formed in the same area, was going north of the islands, at least from what I've watched in old, news footage from like Weather Channel and whatnot. Francis was going the same direction as Aaron is, but the original thinking was, hey, he's going to turn north, he's going to miss Florida, but it turned out wasn't. It was going to go straight into Florida and made landfall south of Melbourne, and it made that part of the state. But yeah, that's why I think everyone from like the Weather Service and Hurricane Center is saying, look, we've seen those storms happen before, and that's not outside the possibility it could happen again. It's not likely, but it could happen. So just keep an eye on things. Obviously, Bermuda, I can't imagine how you're feeling, because this is definitely going to be nerve-wracking and teeth-gnashing and just all-out chaos, probably, because you don't know if it's going to if you're going to get major impacts. And you certainly will, because you're going to be on the right side of the storm, but it's a small island, and they don't have it's not, I don't know, it's a very strange situation there for Bermuda. So hopefully it doesn't directly hit there, but unfortunately, you guys will probably get impacts from Aaron. I think it's becoming pretty clear there will be some impact, but we'll see. So that's it for the tropics, at least that part of the show, I guess. But figured I'd let you guys know what's going on. So at least at the moment, nothing for Florida. But again, we're still watching Aaron. And look, like I said, with those storms like Florence and even Francis back in '04, we've seen stranger things. Not the show on Netflix, but we've seen stranger things in the weather community where unexpected things happen. So that's it for the show today. Again, we'll be back tomorrow with the Michigan stuff. I'll probably do a video. I'll very likely do a video on that, reacting to what happens there, with the NCAA stuff being revealed. Again, we'll see what happens here. But again, I just don't think anything major will come out of it. No, has nothing to do with TV ban or bull bans or whatever. I don't think that's happening. Again, contrary to popular belief, and for folks living in Columbus, Ohio, or in East Lansing or State College, Pennsylvania, no, that's not going to happen. But we will react to what happens. I'll sort of give my thoughts on it, sort of closing thoughts on it. But as for the show, we'll be back on Tuesday. Again, game week. We'll do game prep. We'll do a preview prediction for Kansas State, Iowa State, Farmington, and Ireland, unfortunately. But it is what it is. And then, of course, we'll continue trucking along. And then after that, week one preview special happened on Tuesday. So we'll get very excited for that. So until Tuesday, I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow, probably with video. But for the show-wise, until Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your week, your weekend. I know here in Florida it's going to be hot again, and at least we'll get some storms, I think, on Saturday and Sunday. But it's going to be pretty hot again, but, is what it is. But until then, until Tuesday, enjoy your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the next stream/episode.